طيب, let's begin. Bismillah ir-Rahman ir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wahdahu wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu amma ba'd. Continuing from our Tafsir of Surah Yusuf, Surah number 12. We are now on verse number 42. Ayah number 42. Just a brief recap from last week. Essentially, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam has now interpreted the dream of those two young men who were with him inside of the prison cell. And so he addressed them as Ya sahibay sijn, my two companions inside of the prison. And look at the adab with which a prophet speaks, right? And this is an adab that all of us should learn. It's not the case that Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, I'm innocent, so I'm not or I'm wrongfully imprisoned, I shouldn't be here, you guys need to know my story, let me tell you my whole situation. He doesn't even bother. They come for him asking for help, and so he gives them his help. But before he does so, he gives them a little bit of da'wah, because these guys have nothing better to do anyways, right? So you guys got plenty of time, let me sit down, let me tell you a little bit about this. But that's also not, we shouldn't just take it at face value and be like, look, Yusuf alayhi salam, he used the perfect da'wah opportunity and he talks to them for a few minutes. Because sometimes a person comes to you and they need help right away. So we shouldn't say that, I'm going to exercise this moment, perfect moment for me to give them da'wah. Right? So it's also important, a person's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And that minute turns into 15 minutes. I have so many people, they do that with me all the time. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh, I need to talk to you for, 10 minutes. So I'm like, okay, you know what, send me a text with whatever issue it is. That's it, okay? Just send me a text with whatever issue. And so they send me I have to talk about XYZ things. And they list out, and it's like one essay that they send me. That just you explaining your context will take more than 10 minutes. So forget the actual conversation and discussion. So it's very important to be respectful of people's times, right? That's another thing, unfortunately, especially in the work of da'wah, what happens is people just, get started on these long-winded explanations of things, right? I mean, I tend to do that when dars, right? So, but I look at it and I'm like, man, I feel bad for going for too long. But what happens sometimes in our dars, in our khutab, things like that, where people are just yapping. People are just talking and talking and talking with no point to be made. How many khutbahs have we come to? How many dars have we come to? Lectures, we come to halaqas, and you start falling asleep and you're like, all right, what's this guy talking about, right? Seriously, it happens, unfortunately. It's because the speaker is not being respectful of the time of the people. Because you guys can be doing anything right now, but you're here, on a Tuesday night, and you're coming to listen to the dars. So we try to keep it succinct, we try to get to the point, and we try to take some benefit from it. And it's very, it's an imperative on the speakers that we have, on our teachers that we have, that they also are, number one, respectful of the people's times, but that they go out of their way to actually study and prepare the material. So many times people come and they give khutbah in every masjid, not just every masjid that happens. And they're just kind of winging it off the top of their head. Well, actually, we should ask Allah for forgiveness. Yes, I know, brother, but give me something that I'll take back with me. Right? So Yusuf alayhi salam does not manipulate these people and their time, right? He knows that they have plenty of time, but he keeps his da'wah super short, succinct, even though they have all the time in the world. But we shouldn't think that, a person comes to us, especially a non-Muslim comes to us, let me use this perfect opportunity to talk to him for 40 minutes. Or even if it's the case, and this is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, comes in Surah Hujurat, that these, the A'rab, they came to talk to Nabi alayhi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if these people only waited for you, حَتَّى تَخْرُجَ إِلَيْهِمْ, until you came out to talk to them. This is a very important point here, just in the grammar we can understand, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not saying that these people should wait for the opportunity when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam leaves his home and then they go talk to him. No. Because he can leave his house and have to go take care of 7 other things, and he doesn't have time to talk to anybody. I have to go take care of my errands and my chores. I'll come back and then I'll talk to people when I'm available. So the person has to come out specifically to talk to you and be open and ready to talk to you in a conversation. So again, today, Brother Tariq and I were talking about cell phones. We just got to get rid of these cell phones, right? The idea of being permanently available. Today we live in a time period where everyone thinks that because you are permanently accessible, you are permanently available. Because I have a cell phone, then I should always be available. So anyone can call me, anyone can text me at any moment that they want. But that's not the case, right? And up until very recently, that was never the case. You couldn't get in touch with anybody. You call their house and you leave a voicemail, right? Before that, it's just like, hey man, I hope I bump into the person. So we should really, reconsider these ideas of other people's times and be respectful of their availabilities. So anyways, Yusuf alayhi salam is giving these people, he gives them da'wah, and he, preaches to them the message of Islam. And we're going to see that from these two people, one of them takes heed of it, the other one does not. One of them learns, and he actually, even though he only has a few more moments to live, a few more days to live until his execution is right around the corner. The other one, the one who basically Yusuf alayhi salam is going to say, hey man, you've got a life ahead of you. You're going to be out, you're going to get out, you're going to be okay. So he's so much in his own world, he's like, I can't wait to just go back to what I was doing. The other guy, when he realizes I'm about to die, realizes, man, I got to make tawbah. What am I doing? What kind of life am I living? So understand that sometimes the gravity of our situation is supposed to wake us up. And if it doesn't, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like, I gave you such a difficult test and it still didn't wake you up. What more do you need? Should I give you an even harder test? Should I give you a harder one after that? Until you wake up and you finally come to your senses. This man is imprisoned, he's thrown in jail, accused of potentially trying to kill the king. And that doesn't wake him up. And he's like, I might die tomorrow. That doesn't wake him up to change his life. Because we're going to see in a moment that he's going to get out of prison and he's going to be going back to the same old, same old. And we'll see how he treats Yusuf alayhi salam, how he's lost in his own ghafla. But the other guy realizes, man, death is right around the corner for me. I need to change up. So Yusuf alayhi salam gives them da'wah, and then afterwards he interprets the dream for them. And then we pick up from that point where Yusuf alayhi salam addresses the second one, the one who is going to leave the prison. He addresses them in private. Again, this is the importance of addressing people, according to the time and the context you are in. If you need to correct somebody, don't correct them in front of everybody. It's that simple. This is like, you would think this is basic adab. Wallahi, it's not basic adab. Because I have seen the opposite of it time and again. And I don't understand. Like if a person makes a mistake, no problem. Go to that person afterwards and say, brother, I just want, clarification on this thing. You said this or you did this, perhaps I didn't understand you. It's that simple. And give them a chance to explain themselves. Maybe they have an explanation you have never heard of. A person does something in their salah and you look at them and you're like, this is wrong, brother, this is not what you should be doing. Meanwhile, have you, استوعبت الأحاديث كلها استوعبت الفقه كله. Have you understood all the fiqh? Have you understood every single hadith that exists? Remember the story Shaykh Ammar gave back in the day, right, when he was in Azhar? And his teacher basically called him out. And he said, come up here, because he said, I saw this person doing this one thing in salah and it was wrong, right? And he thought it was wrong. He thought that what he saw the person doing was wrong. So then he rebuked him, he told him something, and then the teacher found out about it. The teacher's like, oh really? So you have encompassed every single hadith that exists? He's like, go and look through the books of hadith until you find that narration that this person is on. So he said he spent like weeks or months or something looking through every book of hadith until he finally found that tiny little narration which that one man was acting on. And then he realized, oh man, I ridiculed this guy, I called him out and I said, what are you doing? Even though he was acting on a hadith. And then he goes back in front of the teacher and the teacher says, come here. And he makes him stand in front of the whole class, in front of all these people, all the students. And says, okay, tell them your lesson. And he's like, man, this was such an embarrassing but humbling experience for me that I learned in this way. I've told you guys, people have come up to me all the time. Hey man, you need to learn how to pray salah properly because you're the imam. I'm like, yeah, you're right, inshallah. May Allah give me tawfiq to learn salah properly, right? People say that, seriously, and you think to yourself like, I don't know, honestly, but like basic manners when it comes to just correcting one another, right? Giving advice, nasiha. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah has an amazing poem where he talks about this. And in that poem, he specifically says that, don't give me nusх, don't give me advice in front of everyone, in public. Because if I see you doing that, I will consider that as you trying to embarrass me and humiliate me. And I will not accept that. But if you want to advise me in private because then I know that you are sincere. True advice is given in private to a person. That shows your sincerity. Not I'm trying to get bonus points in front of everybody. Let me correct this guy. Let me show everybody what I know. Right? Because especially what if you try to correct them and then they give you a counter argument, then you're going to be the embarrassed one. Right? So Yusuf alayhi salam, when he advises this man and he knows that he's going to be okay, instead of doing it publicly and saying that, hey, listen, you're going to be fine, the other guy's going to get killed. He doesn't say that. Rather, in private, one-on-one, he tells the person, وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ مِنْهُمَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he said specifically to this one. Not that they were sitting together. No, in private, one-on-one, he told him. Dhanna here means that he had a ayqana. He had certainty this man is going to be safe. This man will leave the prison, he will be innocent. And he said that this person, when he leaves, I need a favor from him. And so this is also an important point, that sometimes it is totally okay to ask for help and assistance from people. Sometimes, okay, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends an avenue your way, try to take it. And so this is also the idea of istikhara, that when we do istikhara, you should try to take action in steps of doing whatever you made istikhara for. And if Allah doesn't want you to do it, subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will close that door. Yusuf alayhi salam asked and he told this man, I need a favor from you, try to do this for me. And we know the man didn't do it. So he thought the door would open, Yusuf alayhi salam tried the door, it was locked. Okay, it's that simple. And you're going to notice that Yusuf alayhi salam, he learned his lesson, that this is not the door to go through. This man is not the door to go through. Because when the man comes back later, does he tell him again, hey man, remind the king about me? He doesn't do it again. Because he learned his lesson the first time that this guy, it's not reliable. It's that simple. I tried the first time, I had husnul dhan, I thought he would help me, but it didn't work the first time. Why do I think it's going to happen the second time? So you don't go back to the same thing that didn't work the first time. Try something else. So he speaks to this person individually and he says, "Udhkurni 'inda rabbik," that make mention of me in the presence of your Lord. So here the Lord, the Master he's referring to is the king. Because remember, this is the man who was the cupbearer, the one who provided the wine for the king. And this is like a personal attendant to the king, the one who would pour his wine all the time, to stand ready there waiting for him. Anytime the cup got half full, he would go and immediately refill it. So he said that, make mention of me to the king. That's all. I just want you to mention my name. Just drop my name in front of him. You don't need to tell my whole story, because guess what? Yusuf did not even tell these men his story. He didn't even say, guys, I'm in here unjustly. No. Just mention Yusuf's name. I met a man, his name is Yusuf. He's like, oh, who is this Yusuf? What do you have to say about him? Because you can imagine the cupbearer who stands at his elbow the whole time and is ready to pour the drink for him all the time. They probably have a lot of one-on-one dialogue, random things. Especially if the king is getting tipsy, he's probably talking about all kinds of things. He's probably making mention of random things here and there. Oh, I heard this, I saw this. So he's probably very susceptible to easygoing conversations with the cupbearer. And so he says, just make mention of me in the presence of your king. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. So this part of the ayah can take many understandings, many discussions. If you look at the books of Tafsir, they go into a lot of avenues and tangents. We're only going to stick to one of them, which is essentially that he says that Allah Azza wa Jalla here is saying that Shaitan made this man, the cupbearer, forget the mention of Yusuf in the presence of the king. That's it. So he had to go and tell the king that, hey, I know this man Yusuf and I met him inside a prison. He was a good guy. Right? So basically, like, can you give him a pardon? Can you look into his case a little bit more? Just open the door to that conversation. But Shaitan made this man forget mention of Yusuf alayhi salam. And you're going to see that this man himself was already susceptible to this. Susceptible to what? A selfish lifestyle. Looking out for himself, looking out for number one. And so it is easier for Shaitan to get to a person who is already inclined towards looking after themselves. A person who just thinks nafsi, nafsi, looks after himself, herself, before everyone else, Shaitan can just play with that person like a little toy. He can tell that person, go here, do this, do that. But a person who thinks about other people, a person who cares about the feelings of other people and the sentiments of other people, Shaitan has a hard time getting to that person. Because they're not thinking of what? Themselves, nafsi, nafsi. They're thinking about that person, himself, her, the community, other people. That person is concerned about the well-being of other people, the opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a person who's only thinking about himself, then Shaitan is just going to tell that person, go follow your desires. That's it. And so you're going to see what happens this man. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ. Shaitan made that person forget. It's that simple. And so, and this is, by the way, this is some of the few powers that Shaitan has. Unfortunately, we give too much power to Shaitan. We give too much power to Shaitan. Right? There's a funny story that, about Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. I don't know the authenticity of it, but I'll share it just in case, right? Perhaps a virtue. That Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he, like all of the Sahaba, is a very pious, righteous man, and he was consistent in his tahajjud. He would get up, every night and he would pray his tahajjud prayer. And a time came when he missed his tahajjud. Shaitan caused him to forget. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that when a person goes to sleep, Shaitan ties 3 knots on that person's neck right here, right? And he tells him that Nam فَإِنَّ لَكَ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, that you have a long night ahead of you, sleep. Have a long, comfortable sleep. And so Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he tell us? That when a person wakes up, they make mention of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one. That will undo the first knot. Number 2, the person goes and makes wudu. This will undo the second knot. And the third one, the person goes and they pray their salah, as in they pray their fajr, and the person does that. All 3 of the knots that are tied there by Shaitan are undone, and the person feels energetic. They're ready to go about their day. But a person who does not do that, they oversleep. They don't pray their fajr. They don't get up for their wudu. They don't go to the masjid. They pray at home, whatever it is. That person, when they eventually wake up, hours later, they wake up what? Kaslan, lazy, lethargic, no energy. And don't we notice that? You think that if I sleep in, I'll feel better. As in, I skip my fajr, I'll feel better. But when you skip fajr and you wake up at 9, 10 a.m., you feel terrible. Like, oh my God, I wasted my morning. I feel like, I feel awful. But a person who wakes up early, and a person who wakes up and they refresh themselves and they pray their salah, they're like, I don't want to go back to bed. I don't want to jump back in bed. Let's get to the day. Let's go. I'm going to have my coffee and get to work. Even if it's early, 5, 6, 7 a.m., right? And so, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us against the tricks of Shaitan. He's going to try to make a person, lazy and lethargic. And if a person starts their day like that, they will continue their day like that. They will end their day like that. Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he was sleeping and, he overslept for his tahajjud, not for his fajr. He woke up and fajr time was already in. And he had so much regret, so much remorse that he cried the entire day. And he made tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for missing tahajjud. And he just kept crying. He's like, I cannot believe what is wrong with me. How could I have missed this? Right? This is like, what a terrible thing that I have done. I have missed my tahajjud prayer. Because they took it seriously. When the Prophet ﷺ said that a person who starts a good deed, they should continue that good deed. They shouldn't abandon it. Don't leave it. Because the most beloved deed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the deed that a person does consistently, no matter how small it is. We pick up good deeds, especially in the month of Ramadan. Allahumma ballaghna Ramadan, we're just 2 months away from it. When you pick up your little good deeds in Ramadan, make them consistent. for all of us. MashaAllah, everyone can come for Isha. Everyone can come for Isha. Because in Ramadan, everyone comes for Isha. Everyone can pray extra. Everyone can pray 2, 4, 6, 8, 20 rak'ahs extra. Because in Ramadan, everybody prays extra. Everyone can fast, even if they have work and they have school and they have everything, they can. Because in Ramadan, they do it. So when we pick up these good deeds in Ramadan, and I think if you do something consistently for 30 days, that shows that it's a habit. It's not just something you're doing for fun, it's a habit. So when you pick up a good habit, you want to continue it after. And so Muawiyah radhiyallahu anhu picked up this habit, this good habit of doing tahajjud. And he felt so much regret and remorse that he cried the whole day. And the next morning, they say that actually shaitan whispered in his ear to wake up. Shaitan woke him up himself. Because the tawbah and the regret and the remorse he had was even more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That feeling that he had, that how can I have missed my salah, that Allah loved the tears that he had over missing a nafil act. That was even more beloved than the tahajjud itself. He's like, you know what, let me make this guy pray tahajjud. That's even gonna, his crying is gonna get him closer to Allah than the tahajjud will. Because he's so attached to that. And so here shaitan has very few powers. Don't give shaitan more power than he has. Seriously. What else can he do? He can whisper to you, try to misguide you, try to mislead you, try to make you forget. That's literally it. What else can he do? And that's what happens. Shaitan made Adam alayhi salam forget. Shaitan made Yusha ibn Nun alayhi salam. He made him forget, right? And he mentions it in Surah Al-Kahf that he made me forget. Right here, he makes just this other man, random person forget. That's really what shaitan can do. He can whisper and incline to you. You have more power over shaitan than he has over you. You say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, you watch shaitan will flee and run away from you. If you're having troubles in your home, give adhan in your home. Ask yourself this, if you have troubles and issues in your house, think to yourself, how many times have I given adhan loudly inside of my house? You should ask yourself, and this is a solution. In the morning, wake up for Fajr time, or even you can make adhan without having a salah. You don't need to make salah, right? Just make an adhan. Early in the morning, make one, and at night, make an adhan. And you will see shaitan has departed from your home and run away from it. You had a question?
During the Sita class on Saturday, it was mentioned how the Prophet he converted the shaitan?
Yeah, so this is a story about every single person has a qareen. We all have a qareen, so that is like an internal shaitan. There's an angel with you, there's a qareen with you. Actually, you have many different malaika, you have many angels with you, not just one. And look at this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That everyone has one qareen, one shaitan, right? That نُقَيِّدْ لَهُ شَيْطَانٍ فَهُوَ لَهُ qareen. That a person has one qareen, one shaitan with them at all times, but they have many angels with them at all times. Okay, surrounding them always. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this many, many times in the Quran, many ahadith about it. And that qareen, that shaitan is there, it is the one that is whispering to you to do the bad deeds. So the shaitan that's there, major shaitan, big S shaitan, has deputized all of these, qareens to do what? To whisper to you, to try to misguide. He doesn't have time for 8 billion people. So he goes and he tells, his qareens and they carry out his mission. So all of us have that. But at the same time, we have the angels with us as well, who are encouraging us to do good deeds. So you have demonic whispers and you have angelic whispers. It's up to you which whisper do you want to listen to? Which influence do you want to listen to? The Prophet of Allah ﷺ had a qareen, and he spoke about this in the hadith, and he said, however, he gave da'wah to his qareen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him ability over it, and that qareen became a Muslim. So Nabi ﷺ did not even have the whispers of that shaitan, that qareen, influencing him. Didn't happen.
But this is not something that's attainable for us.
I can't say that it is or is not. Nabi ﷺ did it, so who knows? Right? I mean, it means it opens the door for possibilities, imkan, but there's nothing definitive. We can't say anything qat'i that so-and-so has done it or so-and-so can do it. We simply know that the Prophet of Allah ﷺ himself did it. Yeah, but that's a good question. And so shaitan is the one who made this person forget, mentioning Yusuf alayhi salam. فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. Look at how something so tiny, seemingly so small, can have such a massive impact and influence. He just forgot one thing, mentioning the name of Yusuf alayhi salam, nothing else. Because of that, Yusuf alayhi salam spends another 7 years inside of prison. Just one little thing, one little slip up. Man, I read these stories sometimes on the news and it's really sad. That a person has spent 25 years inside of prison. Why? Because, they didn't submit that type of DNA testing at that time. Or they overlooked this fingerprint, or this happened. And then he gets out and they give him $1 million. What's he going to do with $1 million? Give him his 25 years of his life back, right? So a tiny little mistake is not such a small little mistake, right? It can be of serious impact and influence. You and I need to think. Don't ever think that anything you do is too small. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. No matter how small of a deed you do, if it's a good deed, Allah will see it and reward it. If it's a bad deed, Allah will hold you accountable for it. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لَا يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ مَنْ كَانَ فِي قَلْبِهِ مِثْقَالُ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ مِّنْ كِبْرٍ. If a person has even the smallest iota of pride in their heart, they will not be granted entry into Jannah. It has to be removed. So never think that anything is too small. Okay, it's one little thing. Okay, what's the big deal? Okay, I said that one thing. Okay, I'm sorry I said it. Just let it go. Overlook it. What's the big deal? One glance in that direction, $1 of haram, one bite of haram. We don't know. All of these people who are stuck in drugs, all of these people stuck with their addictions, they all started with one step. Those people who are addicted to whatever it is, smoking or drinking or injecting, whatever it is, they took it one time for the first time, and then it started them down a path that they could have never anticipated or expected. So we don't know what that one little deed might be, but in the opposite is also true. That one little good deed that you need to do, who knows? That one good deed you do for the first time, it can change your life. And you'll look back on it and you're like, man, I went to the masjid one time for Isha that one day, and look at where I am today. Come on. I have friends of mine who are converts to Islam. I have a friend of mine, his name is Maulana Justin, Sheikh Justin. Seriously, he's like beard this big, mashallah. Totally white guy. Absolutely, like, seriously, he's a convert. He's a sheikh. He's a sheikh, he's like a master's degree, PhD. Mashallah, he's creating other shuyukh, he's teaching other people, he's making other people into sheikhs. There's just that one time, one little deed, one thing that he did, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him on a path that he becomes a source of guidance for so many other people. Who knows what your little thing might be? One little thing that you do, one good deed that you do, that will change the life of millions and billions of people. Seriously. And that's what Yusuf a.s. what happens to him, right? A little boy in the well, he goes and changes the lives of all the millions of people of Misr. And so, unfortunately, he has to wait. He has to be patient. And look at this, the fruits of patience are always sweet. The fruits of patience are always sweet. But the fruits of impatience are always bitter. We always regret things that we did due to our impatience, due to our hastiness. We said something we regret. We did something, you're like, I should have just waited a moment. Why didn't I do that instead? Why? Because we acted hastily. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that al-ajalatu min ash-shaytan. Hastiness, going quickly and immediately doing something without thinking, is from shaitan. Shaitan wants you to slip up. That's it. But al-anatu min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doing things with forbearance, patiently waiting. Opportunities will come. Wait, take it slowly, take it easily. Don't think it's going to pass you by. Your time will come when it is right. And so, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, we see, because he is patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards him with so much goodness. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكِ. All of a sudden, the king enters into the picture. This is the first time the king is mentioned inside of the surah. And so this is the king of Misr. So he speaks up, and you can imagine this is like somewhere in some palace somewhere, right? We moved from the prison to the palace. Isn't that incredible? And Yusuf a.s. himself, this is an indication of where Yusuf a.s. will eventually go. Because look, what happens? فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. He stayed inside of the prison for a number of years. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكِ. And then the king says, إِنِّي أَرَى. I see. Guess what? Yusuf a.s. will eventually become that king. Yusuf a.s. will eventually go from being inside of the prison to eventually being inside of the palace. So that like very subtle transition, well, it's actually not even a subtle transition, a very stark transition is a subtle indication to the future of Yusuf a.s. That look, we go from talking about the prison to talking about the king to eventually Yusuf going from the prison to eventually becoming the king. So he speaks up, and the king is probably addressing, his closest wuzara. So he addresses them and he says that inni ara. Remember what we said? Inni ara means I see again and again. I'm having this recurring dream over and over again. What does he see? سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ سَبْعٌ إِجَافٍ. He says that I see 7 fat cows. They are being cannibalized, devoured by 7 skinny cows. It's kind of like a scary dream if you think about it. Cows are pretty innocent, right? And cows they're herbivores. They eat grass, they eat hay. But then all of a sudden you see like a cow leaping at another cow and eating the cow. It's kind of scary, right? And not just one, but it's like 7 of them. So it's like a gang war between the cows. What's going on over here? And if it's a skinny cow, you wouldn't expect it to be eating a fatter cow. The fatter cow should be the one that scares the skinny ones, right? So it's like a strange dream to have. And the king of all people, why would the king be witnessing this kind of... Is the king somebody who lives on a farm, works with animals? No, other people take care of those things for him. Probably hasn't seen a cow in how long, right? He lives in the palace, he lives in the castle. But he has this dream. And he says that, and then this is here, al-atf, I also see in my dream something else. وَسَبْعَ سُنْبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخْرَى يَابِسَاتٍ. I see 7 ears of corn, and I see 7 of them which are of grain. 7 ears of grain which are green, as in that they're like, ripe for the picking. They're lush. But I see 7 of them that are dry and old. Okay, like they're turned into like hay, basically, right? And they're not edible. So I see 7 green ones and 7 that are basically old and unusable. Ya ayyuhal mala. Now he's like, this is a very strange dream. And he says 7, 7, 7, 7. So what's going on here? So he addresses his nearest counsel that he has with him available. He says, Ya ayyuhal mala, aftuni fi ru'yaya. And this is very interesting. He uses the word fatwa again. This word has come a few times, right? أفتوني في رؤياي إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون. We'll go back to this word fatwa in just a moment, and its comparison to the word naba, right? أنبئكم. We'll talk about the difference between these in a moment, inshallah. And so he addresses all of them, and he says that, and we're going to see who's going to give the answer. The cupbearer is the one who gives the answer, even though he's not being addressed by the king. But you can imagine that he has like the jur'ah, the audacity, to speak up in this gathering because he probably has a closeness to the king. Maybe he was thrown inside of jail because he was accused of trying to poison the king, but they found him innocent. He's like, king, come on, man, I would never do that. You're my boy. I look after you. So he's probably like, okay, you know, you're on good terms with the king, right? And so he asked all of them a question, Aftuni fi ru'ya, why don't you tell me the meaning of my dream? Fi ru'ya, he used the word ru'ya. This is important here. He used the word ru'ya. In kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun. If you people have the ability to interpret dreams, then interpret them for me. This tells you, by the way, that we see, the concept of dream interpretation repeated again and again in this surah, and including the king himself, the most important person in the entire government, is talking about it. Which means probably dreams are quite significant in that culture. And there are certain cultures that are like this, right? They prioritize other things. They are known for certain things over other things, right? For example, if you look at like the Greeks and the Romans, you look at the time of the Spartans were known not for their culture or for their great civilization or for their, art or for their, writings or anything like that. They were known as a war-loving culture. They're known for their, mastery in the art of war. But then you have, Athens and the Athenians who are known for other things. They were known for their mastery in politics and dialectics and things like that, right? And so you have those that are like just, share, right? Things that are more, famous or that they're more well known for, certain societies, communities, cities. And so these people, obviously, they prioritize dreams. They looked up to them. They considered like dreams to be of significant value. And obviously he's there asking everyone like, listen, I had something that I consider significant. You guys should tell me what it means, if you have the ability to do so. Now everyone, all the courtiers that are in the court of the king, all of them wants to be on the good side of the king. All of them wants a promotion, wants an elevation. And so they're obviously going to work hard to try to either narrate the understanding and interpretation of the dream, or they're going to say that, look, there's no way I can interpret this dream. I have to just tell him that he's crazy and it doesn't mean anything. So none of them know what to say. So all of them gather together and they say what? قَالُوا أَضْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ. They say, actually, this is, أَضْغَاث from the word ضِغْثٌ, which is basically if you have hay, straw, and then, so imagine you take a bundle of straw and then you move it, and there's like a little bit of straw left over here, the remnants of straw, just like little pieces of hay. You gather all of that together, like you have a little bag of it. That's adghath. That's what it is. It's just remnants of hay, straw. Adghathu ahlam. This is remnants of things that you think about. Your subconscious, things that you're worried about, stressed about, thinking about. Maybe you had something spicy to eat before you slept, stuff like that. And so all of it is just put together and it doesn't actually mean anything. It's a mishmash of visions you're having. Nothing important. It's like if you're like a 70-year-old man and you're having a dream about being in school, right? You're like, oh my God, this must be significant. Maybe it is, but probably, you're stressed for no reason, right? And so they're like, listen, there's nothing for you to worry about. This doesn't mean anything. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَالِمِينَ. And by the way, remember, this is how politicians talk, right? It's not enough for the politician to say, I don't know. Have you ever heard a politician say, I don't know? Seriously, have you ever heard a politician say, I don't know? Oh, seriously. Even though Imam Malik rahimahullah, what does he say? Right? It's saying La adri. Imam Malik, Sahaba, many of the scholars, they used to say what? La adri nisful ilm. Saying the word I don't know is half of knowledge. Right? Is I don't know. It's that simple. And we have to have the courage, the guts to say, I don't know. I will learn it. Please explain it. I don't understand. And those of you who work in corporate, definitely try it. Somebody comes in and teaches something and there's 7 people saying that, everyone's like, yeah, of course. And when it comes to you, be like, can you please explain that one more time? I didn't understand it completely. I guarantee you other people are going to be like, yeah, can you run that back one more time, please? Because I also, I might have slipped up somewhere. Yeah, they will admit it. They will admit it themselves. But no one is willing to say, no one has the courage to just admit a weakness. That's what it is, right? And so none of these people do. Instead of actually saying that we don't know what it means, it's important, because it is very important. The dream is telling the future. This dream that he has is telling the future of the entire country, what's going to happen to that whole region of the world. It's not an insignificant dream. And these people are totally clueless, but they don't have the guts to say, I don't know. So instead, what do they say? No, this is just a mishmash of, you're having some you must be having trouble at home, that's why you're think about these weird things, right? So that's not what it is. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِتَأْوِيلِ الْأَحْلَامِ بِعَالِمِينَ. We don't understand, we can't interpret for you just nightmares or strange visions. So what are they saying? They're implying the opposite, that if it was not, ahlam, and if it was ru'ya, then what? نحن بِتَأْوِيلِ الرُّؤْيَا عَالِمِينَ بِعَالِمِينَ, right? Or they can say that we are knowledgeable when it comes to interpreting actual dreams, but we can't actually interpret, nightmares and visions. That's what they're trying to imply without actually coming forward and saying it, because they don't want to lose the favor of the king. And they use the word ahlam when the king himself used the word what? Ru'ya. Because ahlam is just random things that you see in your subconscious, shaitan puts it in your head, whatever it is. But ru'ya itself is actually something significant and actually important. The king knows it's important, but those people are trying to what? Gaslight the king. No, it's not that important, don't worry about it, you shouldn't actually think too much about it. Don't read too much into it, man. And so, what happens? All of a sudden the man speaks up. What does he say? وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَى مِنْهُمَا, the one who was saved from those two people. And look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning this. That najam, who was saved? Who saved this person? Allah Azza wa Jalla saved him. Allah said, I saved this man, and yet look at the life he's living. He's still pouring wine in the cup of the king. That's the life that this guy is living. And he still hasn't mentioned Yusuf alayhi salam. And we're going to see in a moment how he prioritizes himself over Yusuf. And how he lies to Yusuf alayhi salam. He straight up lies to Yusuf alayhi salam. You're going to see it in a moment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَدَّكَرَ. وَدَّكَرَ from the word, actually that, إِذْتَكَرَ. This word is supposed to be إِذْتَكَرَ, but obviously that's like a very tough way to say it. It's actually supposed to be إِذْتَكَرَ. Yeah. And the way, because it's ala wazni ifta'ala. Okay, but obviously because the pronunciation of that is hard on most people, especially in your recitation, no one is going to say, right, what is the ayah right here? وَقَالَ الَّذِي نَجَى مِنْهُمَا وَاذْتَكَرَ بَعْدَ أُمَّةٍ. It's hard to say that. So then basically what happens is like a form of idgham. Basically you combine letters and then you replace letters depending on the necessity. So it becomes وَدَّكَرَ. That وَدَّكَرَ is actually made in this form to make it easier for people to pronounce. And so it is an indication of what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could use any word, right? That he remembered. وَذَكَرَ. That he remembered all of a sudden, whatever it is. But he says, وَذَكَرَ. That it was easy for him to immediately recall the mention of Yusuf alayhi salam. That's it. That's what it means. It's easy to pronounce, which means that it was easy for this man. The memory jumped to the thought jumped to his memory just at the top of his mind right away. And he remembered Yusuf alayhi salam. بَعْدَ أُمَّةٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word ummah. Ummah refers to a nation. It also refers to a period of time. So after a short while, just a short moment, he was like, wait a minute. I know somebody who's suited for this job. And what does he say? أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِتَأْوِيلِهِ فَأَرْسِلُونَ. I will give you naba. Naba is news of the unseen. Naba and khabar, the difference between these two things, both of them mean news, but naba is a news that is knowledge from the unseen or from a source that you cannot yourself ascertain. Like you can't come up with it, somebody has to tell you about it. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ. That these people are asking one another about what? Khabar is something that you can find out yourself. Naba is something that someone has to tell you and you cannot find out yourself. And so here, أُنَبِّئُكُمْ. I will find out this knowledge and I will convey it to you. Myself, I will do so. And he uses the word أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ. Oh, these guys can't do it? Watch what I do. Again, who is he putting forward? He's putting himself forward. Instead of everybody else putting everybody down, moving himself forward, trying to elevate his position. And so he said, أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِتَأْوِيلِهِ فَأَرْسِلُونَ. Now remember I said that there's a difference between the word fatwa and naba. Right? So when Yusuf alayhi is there inside of the prison and the two men, they come and they ask him a question, what do they say to him? They say, نَبِّئْنَا بِتَأْوِيلِهِ. Give us the naba. Give us the news of this. We don't care how you figure it out. Find out from some source and let us know what the news is. Yusuf alayhi says what? He says that before your food comes to you, إِلَّا نَبَّأْتُكُمَا بِتَأْوِيلِهِ. Before the food comes here, I will find out the information and convey it to you. Which means that Yusuf alayhi is not interpreting the dream himself. The knowledge is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It looks like Yusuf alayhi is interpreting it. Remember, and this is something very important for all of us. وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. That you did not throw when you threw, but Allah threw. What does that mean? And so they say this is reference to a couple of incidents, but one of them is when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took up the dirt from the ground and the mushrikeen were surrounding his house to assassinate him on the night of the hijrah. And he throws that dust and that dirt and it gets into the eyes of these people and then they cannot see him Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's able to slip out unseen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you picked it up and you threw it, but you didn't really throw it. Allah threw it when you threw it. Which means what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and ability and qudra was behind that action. So here, when Yusuf alayhi salam interprets it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that actually, you're interpreting it based on the knowledge I have given you. All of us, whatever we do it from the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never think that, you know what, I got this job because I am capable. You know, I have built this family, I have made this money, I have, done this and that, people listen to me, I'm well spoken, I'm, accomplished and qualified in this and that respect. Look at the house that I have and the money that I'm accumulated and the statuses and degrees that I have. Never think that it's because of your own effort. There's nobody who is more well known than Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's accepted by the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. Right? Ibrahim is something called the Abrahamic faith, and some say that even the the Hindus, they even accept Ibrahim alayhi salam. They call him, Brahma. So that comes from Ibrahim alayhi salam, according to some people. So if he's accepted by the entire world, alayhi salam, what does he say? وَمَا تَوْفِيقِيَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Whatever I have accomplished, whatever I have done, is because Allah helped me to do it. All of us need to move with this in our lives. Whatever you do, whatever step you take, understand it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and His assistance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Yusuf alayhi salam, you're doing this, you're giving the answer because I gave you the knowledge. And then, so how does Yusuf alayhi salam, what does he say right here? قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. The fatwa that you want to give, it's already been decreed. The fatwa that you wanted, I've already given it to you because Allah is the one who gave me that knowledge. And here when the king asks for it, you guys give me the fatwa. As in what? You guys listen to the dream and you understand it and you explain it to me. But none of them are qualified to do it. And even the cupbearer, the guy who's pouring the alcohol, even he knows, I can't tell you, because if he could tell, he would say right now what it is right away. He would say, okay, I'll tell you exactly what it means. He doesn't know what it means. He has to go to Yusuf alayhi salam, ask him, and then he's going to tell him. But he doesn't want to mention Yusuf, even though he remembered him right now. He remembered his name. But remember what we said, this is a guy who looks out for himself, man. If I mention Yusuf's name, who's going to get the credit? Yusuf's going to get the credit, not me. But what happens? What happens? Yusuf alayhi salam eventually does get the credit, gets out of prison, becomes like, the minister, and becomes this amazing person. So even though people try to steal his credit, people try to put him down, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still elevates him over everybody else. People will try to steal credit for your efforts, people will try to put you down, people will try to humiliate you, embarrass you, talk about you. But if you are a pure person, you are right with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will elevate you and Allah will defend your honor. It's that simple. Don't worry. Honestly, we spend so much time worrying, what are people saying about me? People are going to say what they're going to say. Just get right with God. That's it. Get right with God. مُصَانَعَةُ الْوُجُوهِ كُلِّهَا مُصَانَعَةُ الْوَجْهِ الْوَاحِدِ أَيْسَرْ مِنْ مُصَانَعَةِ الْوُجُوهِ كُلِّهَا. It's much easier to work in relationship with pleasing one individual than it is pleasing everybody. How can you please everybody? Just please Allah. Allah will take care of the rest. That's it. A person, man aqbala ila Allah azza wa jal bi qalbihi, aqbala Allahu ilayhi bi qulubil ibad. You turn to Allah with your heart, Allah will make everybody turn towards you. It's that simple. Yusuf alayhi salam has it right with Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates him over these people. So this man, he's here looking, out for himself. But what happens? Send me where? I need to go and talk to this guy. That's all I need to do. Talk to whom? It's just somebody. Don't worry about it right now. I just need to go talk to him. He doesn't mention Yusuf alayhi salam's name. So they eventually send him anyways. When he gets inside of the prison, look at how he's been gone for like 7-8 years. He's been gone for a long time. You would think he's going to come apologetic. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I made a mistake. This is my fault totally. I know that you're a forgiving person. Please forgive me. Here's why I forgot. I'm going to change. I'm not going to do this anymore. Is that how he goes to Yusuf alayhi salam? Is that how he goes? What does he say? He immediately walks inside. Yusuf, ayyuha Siddiq. He calls him by his name first. You are the man. You are the nicest person. All those people out there, man, it's cutthroat world out there. Can't listen to any of them, can't believe any of those people. I work in the palace. I know all those people. I know deceit and treachery. You are an honest man, Yusuf. You're a good guy. You're not going to get mad at me. You're going to forgive me. Look at flattery. He just comes in, right? Laying on the flattery as thick as possible. Trying to do what? Obfuscate and trying to cover for his mistake. Trying to cover for his, slip up. And so he says, Yusuf just starts praising him. And he doesn't even get into the small talk. He doesn't get into any small talk. Now, look at all these other people. There was small talk with Yusuf alayhi salam. When the wife of, the minister, she wanted to do anything, small talk with him. When the people, his brothers, they gave him small talk with their dad, this and that. All these people had small talk, little conversation. When they came, and they wanted the interpretation of the dream, they had a long conversation with him. Said, Yusuf, listen, man, we had this thing, this is what I saw in my dream, and this and that, all of this. Now tell us. Here, no small talk. He immediately jumps, to business. What does he say? Yusuf, you're a great guy. Aftina. Give all of us the fatwa of this. As in, you listen to what I'm going to explain to you, and you deduce it for me and explain it for, not for me, for all of us. Is he asking for everybody? Who's he asking for? He's asking for the king. But look at how this man is doing what? Obfuscating the truth, lying by omission. When a person doesn't tell there's other ways to lie. Instead of just like a bold-faced lie, you leave out crucial details, critical details. He doesn't say that Yusuf, the king, had a dream, because if he mentions the king in front of Yusuf, then all of a sudden he's going to be like, oh man, this is my get out of jail card right here, right? No, I'm not going to tell you the interpretation. Go ask the king to get me out first, and then I'll tell you what it means. That's what he can say. This guy's like, no, I'm not here to look out for Yusuf. I gotta, boost my own credibility. If Yusuf gets out, then he's gonna elevate himself over me. And then when he gets close to the king, he might remind the king that, hey, I told this cupbearer to mention me 7-8 years ago. He forgot all about me. Then I might get punished. They might throw me right back in here. What am I gonna do? So he doesn't mention the king at all. Aftina, please, some people, we have a question for you. What is this? We have a dream. We saw a dream. في سبع بقرات سمان يأكلهن سبع عجاف وسبع سنبلات خضر وأخرى يابسات. What's really interesting is like this part right here is a little bit tough to memorize. 7, 7, 7, 7, right? You gotta get the order and you have to know the sequence. The man here, he heard the king say it one time, and then he stands in front of Yusuf and he says it verbatim exactly as he heard it. Does he have a memory problem? He doesn't have a memory problem. He's able to narrate the dream perfectly. He has a priority problem. That's what he has. He prioritized the king's words over the word of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam gave him da'wah and he decided to just sweep that under the rug. The king mentioned some random dream that he had. The man memorizes it to the T, runs to Yusuf and immediately says what he needs, asks him for help. Right? So again, what is he prioritizing? How can I excel in my dunya? Forget about the deen totally. Right? And again, this is why I don't believe in this excuse. People are like, oh, people will be excused on the day of judgment because they didn't know about the deen and this and that. I'm like, man, look around at people. Look around at people. You are living in Walnut Creek. You are living in the Bay Area. You're living in America. You have a college degree. You have a car that works. You have a successful job or business. You have raised a family. You have done this and that. You mean to tell me that you are capable enough to do all of these things? Have a degree, have this, have children, have a family, get through your entire life, have a retirement plan, go on vacation and journey all around the world. You can do all of this, but you cannot take 2 minutes to recognize and realize that there's only one God and you need to worship Him? I don't believe that. I'm sorry. So this idea of al-udhr bil-jahil, I'm like, how much of a jahil are you? How much of a jahil? Because the juhal, apparently, the people who are ignorant, they're ignorant of only one thing, and that's the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But everything else they're experts in. Everything else they're experts in. You want to sit down, you want to have a conversation with anybody, people will yap at you for hours and on end. But you ask them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they're just mute all of a sudden. Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And so we have this excuse of I didn't know, and I don't buy it, I'm sorry. And so he narrates the dream to him perfectly. لَعَلِّي أَرْجِعُ إِلَى النَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُم يَعْلَمُونَ. Perhaps I will go back to the people. What people? This guy's such a liar. Allah's mentioning that this guy's lying. Do we catch that this guy's lying? I hope that when you guys read Surah Yusuf next time, you're like, oh my God, this guy's straight up. In the story, Allah mentions a critical figure in the story, and if you don't catch it, you just totally miss it. This guy goes to Yusuf and straight lies to his face. I'm going to go back to the people, and then I hope that, they will understand. And what people? You think he's going to go to the wuzara? You think he's going to go to the courtiers and tell them in their presence? He's not going to announce it in front of everybody. Because if he says it in front of all of those people, what are they going to say? No, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Don't listen to him. No, he's just full of it. Don't listen to him. He's not going to say it in front of people. He's going to say it in private, one-on-one with the king. When he's pouring that wine for him, he's going to be like, hey, listen, I find out that question you had, here's what it really means. And then he's going to whisper directly into the ear of the king. So when he says that, I'm going to go back to the people, he's lying. I mean, isn't that crazy? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this ayah right here, just in passing, right? But Yusuf alayhi salam can see right through it. Just like his father, Yaqub alayhi salam, saw through the lies of his sons, right? And he knew, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. In the same way, Yusuf alayhi salam sees through the lies of this guy right here. He knows. And because he knows the interpretation of the dream. He knows who's having the dream. And that's another thing, by the way. You cannot interpret a dream if you don't know the person who's having the dream. If you don't, because dreams are consequential, for the person who's having that dream. So it can't be the case that you have a dream, but somebody else interprets it, or you interpret it for somebody else. It's very context significant, right? So you have to look at who is having it, when and why they are having it. And so here, Yusuf alayhi salam clearly knows that this is not this guy or a bunch of people. The king is having this dream, and these implications are not just for him or for a couple people. It's an implication for the entire region, potentially millions of people. So you know what? I'm going to put them over myself. Yusuf alayhi salam can make a condition right here and said, I'm not going to get out until you tell the king. But he doesn't do that. Instead, he chooses, this is the selfless nature of Yusuf alayhi salam, and imagine this, ya subhanAllah, look at this. Now imagine the conversation is taking place. There's a jail cell right here. Yusuf alayhi salam is inside, the man is on the outside. There's prison bars right here. You would think that who's the good guy, who's the bad guy? The guy on the inside is the bad guy, the guy on the outside is the good guy. That's what you think. But the person on the inside is the selfless one. Is the selfless and honest man. The one on the outside is the one who is what? Selfish and self-centered, obsessed about himself, disobedient and dishonest. That's the person on the outside. Don't get fooled and don't get tricked, right? But by your vision, by what you see. We have to be able to see beyond these things. See with the eye of the heart, right? This is firasatul mu'min. That a person, a believer, is able to look with the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Yusuf alayhi salam, he prioritizes the care of the community over himself. And instead of saying that I'm going to wait until the king calls me, what does he do? He goes out of his way to do what? Ta'bir, tadbir, and tabshir. We're going to cover that next week, inshaAllah, bit tawfiq, that Yusuf alayhi salam will interpret the dream. And then he will give them a plan, what you should do according to the dream that I had. And then at the end, he will give them good news. That don't think this is bad news. This is not a scary dream. It's a good dream. Good things are going to come after this. Right? So may Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq. And inshaAllah, we will resume from our dars next week. Jazakum Allah khairan, everyone.